Hello there, boys and girls. It's Persolaise invading your Sunday afternoon on Instagram Live, just for a few minutes actually. I'm doing this for a couple of reasons. First is to let any of you who might suddenly tune in that the next episode of my series of live reviews is going to be on YouTube in half an hour. I'll be starting it on YouTube in half an hour. That'll be episode 16 of Love at First Scent. But the other reason I'm doing this right now is actually just to test it out and see what it's like. I'm not a fan of the fact that Instagram insists on videos being filmed in this portrait fashion. I know that portrait videos are very, very popular with lots of people, but maybe it's because of my love of cinema and all things film related that I just this feels really really wrong to me. Big waves back to the people who are joining in, by the way. So I'm doing this as a kind of experiment. This is a sort of prelude to the Love at First Scent episode that is going to be broadcast in just under half an hour on YouTube Live. Hello, right. I'm seeing comments scrolling up, but I suppose if I don't respond to them, they will be vanished before they'll vanish before I can do anything about it. So I was thinking that I'm neglecting all of my Instagram friends and that I should actually think of something to do live on Instagram as well every now and then. It would make sense to try and transfer the Love at First Scent format here, but maybe not for full Love at First Scent episodes. Maybe I thought I could just talk about an individual scent every now and then. Somebody just gave me a whole load of hearts. I don't know who that was, but whoever you were, thank you very much indeed. I need to figure out what else you can do with these videos. I'm told that I can save them, which means that I could then upload them over to YouTube or Facebook. Again, I think this sort of portrait style video would look quite odd on YouTube or Facebook, but I'm told that lots and lots of people do prefer them. So while I've got you and while I'm talking to you here, I just thought I'd spend a few minutes doing the kind of thing that I normally do on hello back to, how do you say your name? Is it Site Bolat? And a wave back to Joe Andrew as well. Hi, Joe. I thought I'd talk about one perfume just to see how this format might operate on Instagram. And I thought it might make sense to do this one, which is, by the way, I wonder if this is correctly flipped the image over. Somebody let me know, can you read that correctly, or does it come out as mirror writing to you, if you see what I mean? Because to me at the moment, it's mirror writing and it's not coming out correctly. Anyway, what it should say is Eau de Citron Noir, and this is the latest release from Hermès in their cologne range. Some of you may know that actually Hermès are probably most famous for their colognes. They have one which is supposed to be inspired by grapefruit. Oh, and Iskander says can't read it. Yeah, okay, so that's already something annoying about this format. I wonder if Instagram has got something that we could do about that. Never mind. So they've got one based on grapefruit. They've got one based on narcissus. They even did one based on rhubarb, of all things. You wouldn't have thought of rhubarb as being an ingredient for a cologne type composition, but there is one. And the person who did the rhubarb one is also the person who made this one. It's their current in-house perfumer, Christine Nagel. And it's a little bit of an awkward, this one for me, because I need to try to be completely objective about it, because I have been told by the brand that I inadvertently played one part in the story of the inspiration for this perfume. So I'm not trying to kind of make out that this was my idea or anything like that, because it absolutely wasn't. But the story, Saint Bolat says, how are you? I'm very well, thank you. How are you? And where are you? More importantly, maybe. It's great finding out where all of you are. Anyway, several years ago, at the launch of a completely different Hermès perfume, before Christine Nagel had even made a perfume for them, I had a discussion with her, and she just casually said, is there a particular ingredient that you wish would be used in a perfume? And I mentioned one to her, and I even gave her an opportunity to smell this particular material, because it's not something that that perhaps in Europe and the Western world we're overly familiar with. It's something that I thought of to do with my my Persian heritage, because I'm half Iranian, in case any of you didn't know that. So anyway, 2 years passed, or a year and a half passed, and I thought it was just a pleasant dinner time conversation, and that was it. Anyway, the brand then, I'm giving you the very, very short version of this story, but the next time I met Christine Nagel, she told me that she had actually taken that idea of mine to heart, and she'd connected it with something else that she had been doing. So, what was she doing? She was trying to make another cologne for Hermès, because the brand does try to release a new cologne every now and then. As I say, a few years earlier, she'd already done the rhubarb one, Eau de Rhubarbe Écarlate. And it suddenly hit her, and this is what she said to me a few months ago, it suddenly hit her that of all of the colognes that Hermès have made, there isn't a single one which is very overtly inspired by lemon, which seems a bit strange, because you would have thought of lemon as being a very obvious cologne ingredient to think of. Maybe that's why they didn't do it, because it was too obvious. So she thought it's time that this brand had a lemon cologne. And according to her, she went ahead and made one, and she made one that she was quite pleased with, and she thought that, this works fairly competently as a lemon cologne, but she didn't want to put something out there that was merely competent. She wanted it to have something more interesting to offer, and that's when she says she remembered the idea that I gave her. She tied it in with what a few other people had told her, and she decided to give the lemon this darker twist. Hence, we now have Eau de Citron Noir. So the long story of its creation and its gestation. But why did I say that this was awkward? I'll say that it's awkward because even though I was very, very touched and very flattered by the fact that the brand decided to tell me that, I was part of the puzzle of its creation, I'm still in two minds as to whether I actually like this composition, which is, I think, what we would say awkward, but the brands out there know that I am nothing less than honest, and so I shall continue to be honest and tell you exactly what I think of this. Now, it's the beginning of the stage of this perfume, this composition, that I really do love. I love the lemon opening. I've just sprayed some, by the way. It's a real convincing, holographic, yellow, brighter than these yellow petals, lemon, really zesty, really fresh, immediately makes you think of, your kind of perfect idea, your idea of a perfect soap that you want to kind of wash your hands with first thing in the morning to give you that burst of invigoration, that energy. And that's why, that's the bit of this composition that I really do love. Hello back to everybody, by the way. There's lots and lots of people who are waving, giving me virtual waves, so I'm going to give you a real wave back. Thank you very much for tuning into this experimental live stream on Instagram. So I love the lemon opening, no question about it. I think it's right up there with the best openings of the Hermès colognes. But then, what happens next? And by the way, if any of you have already tried this scent, please do let me know. I know that several of you have had a chance to try it, people who read my blog, because a lot of the people who read my blog haven't been overly complimentary about this scent. What happens? What happens next is that the noir part of it, the dark part, is the kind of abrasive, spiky, aggressive, ambery wood base that we seem to have seen in so many masculine compositions lately. In fact, coincidentally, this one here, this is, in case you can't see, this is the extrait, the new parfum version of Bleu de Chanel. I haven't smelt it yet, but I am not at all the world's biggest fan of of Bleu, of either the Eau de Toilette, which was the first version, or the Eau de Parfum. You can see exactly what I think of Bleu if you go to the Persolaise.com blog and look up Bleu de Chanel in the review section. Sauvage put a similar structure or base, Dior put a similar construction or base into Sauvage. That same kind of really aggressive is the word that keeps coming to mind, or sort of unpleasantly assertive, crass, woody, ambery base. And we see it all over the place. I forget what it was called, but I think the new Eau de Berlin says Sauvage EDP base coming. What do you mean? Well, do you mean are they just going to do the base? Maybe. The new release from Coach for men did a similar kind of thing, and Eau de Citron Noir does it as well, rightly or wrongly. And we're already kind of getting there. The lemon is already starting to fade. And this quite in-your-face masculinity is starting to come through, which actually makes me think, I wonder what women would make of this as a cologne. So what does that mean? It means that this is one of the more long-lasting of the Hermès colognes. You can have a debate about whether a cologne is supposed to be long-lasting or not, but we can maybe save that debate for another time. This one is long-lasting. So it doesn't have that fleeting cologne beauty, because sometimes I think the very thing that makes colognes beautiful is that they don't last, that you need to keep reapplying them. And it also makes me think, maybe I'm just in a minority here. There are clearly vast numbers of people out there, both men and women, I think, who really, really seem to go for this base. I mean, goodness knows, Bleu de Chanel and Sauvage have sold in the bucket loads, and yes, to a huge extent that will be something to do with the advertising campaign, but I don't think it's just the advertising campaign. I don't think Sauvage would have been as successful as it has been just because of the strength of Johnny Depp as a presence. And, you know, I may not be a fan of this, but when I have worn it, lots of people have said that they've liked it on me. Even, you know, poor long-suffering Madame Persolaise, who has to smell every single thing I wear on a daily basis, she normally doesn't go for those sorts of masculines, which she actually calls fly spray masculines. To her, they always smell like, you know, bug repellent spray, and I kind of get what she means by that. She didn't think that with this one. This one, I think, because it has this more convincing lemon edge, she read as being masculine in an appealing way, in an attractive way. So, do you know what? I am just in a minority here. We're going through this trend, I think, where Sam2PM says, I agree with her. Well, there you go, see? So, hang on, which bit do you agree with? Do you agree that they're like bug spray, or do you agree that this one's good? You need to clarify. So I'll just make sure your comment comes through, Sam. I have a feeling maybe you agree with with what she thinks, that she thinks they're bug spray. And I have a feeling, yeah, bug spray, okay, I thought so. I have a feeling that this is going to do really well for Hermès. I love how it starts, I love the lemon opening, I love the colour of this bottle, even though I'm not normally a bottle person. I do love this blue. But I think maybe there is every possibility that I'm also hypersensitive to some of the ingredients or to this base. You know, this kind of technical term for that is being hyperosmic. Some people are hypersensitive to certain woody materials. Funnily enough, a lot of women are hypersensitive to certain woody materials. Some people are hypersensitive to certain musks. Some people are not at all sensitive to musks, and they're anosmic to them. They can't pick them up. So maybe the reason I really, really don't have time for things like Bleu de Chanel, which I affectionately call Bleu de Chanel, and Sauvage and their like, is that I'm hypersensitive to something in them. But, you know, I also like to think I'm in quite good company, because Luca Turin, the first, and until now last time I met him at a Perfume Society event in London, and this is, you know, this is on record because I wrote about this on my blog. He said that he wishes that Chanel would stop releasing trash. I think it was like Bleu. I forget what the exact word was. It wasn't a very good word, but it's up on my blog. Eau de Berlin says the ugly base notes bug spray like. Yeah, okay. So maybe it isn't just me, and maybe a lot of you do agree with Madame Persolaise. But this is, to me, the best of that lot, because it has that beautiful opening, and because it still has to play the cologne game to a certain extent. It doesn't go quite all out with that crass masculinity that Bleu and Sauvage do. But there we are. Of the two Hermès perfumes that I have apparently inspired, go figure, I much prefer Cardamusc or Cardamusc, which I reviewed on my blog. That's one of the new Hermès. That, I think, is just beautiful, and it may well end up being one of my favourite perfumes of the year. This one, I'm thinking, okay, I'm struggling to find the love. Anyway, that's all from me for this impromptu and very brief experiment on Instagram Live. Like I said, part of the point was to tell you about this scent, but also part of the point was to see how this works, to see if I can start accepting the portrait format video, which really makes my cinephile nerves jar, and also to see what the interaction's like, to see whether I can then save the video, whether I can upload it to YouTube, Facebook, etc. So thank you very much to everybody for tuning in. Don't forget, the full live episode of Love at First Scent is coming in just under 13 minutes at 5 p.m. UK time on the Persolaise channel on YouTube, okay? Not Facebook today, YouTube. Thank you very much for tuning in. Pardon me while I poke you in the eye and press end.